Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Stop, Look, and Listen. I'm your host, LeTroy Gardner. This week, we have a familiar face. We have founder and CEO of Crossing Bridges Coaching LLC, also the host of Rainbow Bridge Podcast for Fourcast Media, which is our network. So it's my sister in podcasting. She's also a best-selling author, Winthrop alum. We have author, podcast host, coaching, the whole nine, social worker, Nayshondra Mercer, aka Coach Nay. Welcome to the show, Coach Nay.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for the great introduction.
Word. Where'd you get Coach Nay from? I never heard that.
Oh, wow. So, started coaching I've been coaching my entire career, but professionally after getting some certifications about 3 years ago, and wanted to branch out and rebrand myself as a coach. And it just kind of made sense to call myself Coach Nay.
Right.
So it's stuck.
Cool. All right. So, just take us back, give us a biographical snapshot into the life and times of Nayshondra Mercer.
Oh, wow. Let's see. How far back are we talking?
As far as you want. I mean, you can go back to playing with dolls, or you can take it back to Winthrop days, like however far you want to go back to give us a nice summary into how you became Coach Nay.
Oh, wow. So, I guess I can start with my Winthrop days. So I graduated high school back in 2008, not too long ago, but a little while ago. And started my my college career at Winthrop University, and that's where I first got into podcasting. So I was on the Larry P show with the now Doc and Larry P, who are the hosts of the Unemployment Line on Fourcast Media. The three of us were podcasting together. We podcast together for about 10 years. The show was rebranded and after we worked together for about 5 years to the Unemployment Line, where I was the host for another 5 years until 2020. And at that point, I branched off and told the Mario Washington that I wanted to do a solo project. And I was so scared. But when I talked to him about it, he said, I've been waiting for years for you to be ready for this moment. Mm-hmm. And I told him what I wanted my podcast to be. I told him that I wanted to create a space for people of faith who also happen to be gay. Mm-hmm. And that there was not a podcast of its kind, nothing that had been done, nobody who was taking up that kind of space that boldly. And sat on that project for about 4 years. COVID happened. The world just became a totally different place. And I finally launched that after 4 years on March 1st of this year.
Right.
And so that's how the Rainbow Bridge came to be. Coach Nay came to be also during that time where the world changed. I changed. I got an opportunity to become a certified coach and decided to do that and open my business. And the podcast is an arm of that, of what it is that I do for my brand. So I've got Crossing Bridges Coaching, and then I've got the Rainbow Bridge Podcast. And all of those are underneath the Coach Nay brand.
Okay. So, I mean, I definitely want to commend you for going solo, not pulling a Bobby Brown moment or a Marion or a Michael Jackson moment.
Beyonce.
You stuck around. Beyonce too. But yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, the subject matter that you're tackling when it comes to, someone in the LGBTQ plus community that, is also, very religious, how a lot of times that is something that people frown upon, and how it took you 4 years to finally feel comfortable and ready to share that message. I'm sure you had to be extremely delicate with it. How has Rainbow Bridge been received so far?
It has been received very well. Going into it, part of the hesitation and procrastination that led to the 4 years of me getting it out was just being afraid of the reception,
Mm-hmm.
being really concerned. I lovingly call my listeners either baby Christians or crunchy Christians.
Mm-hmm.
So people that tend to listen to my podcast are either new to the faith or they've been in the faith for a long time. And I'm bringing them conversations about the word and how its principles can apply to your life no matter who you are, even if you are gay. And the reception has been very well received. People who have been a little stuck in their ways and have a little bit more of a hard-headed energy are beginning to kind of open up their minds and transform their minds and think about these concepts in a different way. And for folks who are newer to the faith, who have strayed away because of some of the strictness of the church and because of who they are and their identities, they've been finding the podcast very liberating and helping them to feel validated in their experiences as people who love God, but who also happen to be gay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you feel like that community is becoming more accepting? And for a while, did you feel isolated and not feeling like there was anyone that you could really turn to when it came to being who you are, but also, um, you know, having that faith and that spiritual base attached to it?
Yeah, I definitely felt like a unicorn because most people who are gay usually denounce the faith because the church has not been very welcoming to individuals who aren't straight. And I just feel like I've always felt like that's been very unfair. The way that I liken it is, would my mother and father have preferred that I was in a heteronormative relationship? Absolutely. No
Mm-hmm.
parent wants their child to live a life that's going to be challenging for them. So that isn't something that they had in their cards for me. However, it's what happened. And does that mean that loves me and they love me any less? No, not at all. And when you love God and you're in the faith and you also happen to be gay, sometimes you think those two things are mutually exclusive, that I can't have a relationship. I can't be a believer. I can't go to church because of who you are, and this thought process that who we are is a choice. If we could choose to be heteronormative, we would, because why would anybody choose to have a harder life? It is a
Right.
harder life. And, but I think it's unfair of the church, who are just comprised of the people, to continue to isolate and ostracize people who are gay. It's not a quality that is of God, nor do I think that it should be occurring anymore.
Mm-hmm. Nice. All right. So, like, just talk about how those personal experiences helps you in your profession now as a coach.
Yeah. I think what makes me different from most coaches, I do my best not to compare, but there are just some truths. And, all coaches coach around the same things.
Mm-hmm.
We all coach mindset. We all have tools on how we can do that. We just use different tools, but we teach the same things. We coach around the same things. I think what sets me apart is how empathetic that I am, having been a person who struggled with her identity, and then also having spent almost 15 years working in the social work arena, working with children and families in foster care. I have a very deep understanding of the human emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I understand what it feels like to feel pain, to be hurt, to know what trauma and abuse and just being wronged feels like. And I think because of that, my coaching practice is far more empathetic. I hold space for my clients. Most coaches, because we're here to coach around mindset, they'll stop you really quickly if you begin to talk about something that's tough, or if it's emotional. There's lots of feelings behind it, because the point is to get you to change the way you think about it. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I let my clients take up space and speak about their feelings and validate them and help them to work through their emotions, because I recognize, especially for people of color, who are my main these are my people, my main audience. We like to say audiences, but for me as a coach, I feel like you're my people. Our pain feels different than our counterparts who are not melanated. And I think that it is important to hold space for that as well. So I think that's what makes me different and how I show up as a coach.
Right. Do you feel like the key to your success is seeing yourself in everyone that you coach, like a like you're like a mother or a sister to them, because like I've been there and I'm going through the same challenges that you experience, and this is how I'm dealing with it, or this is how we can deal with it together.
Sort of. I think of myself more as a mirror,
Hmm.
reflecting back those experiences in another person. The point in coaching, of course, is not to get in the box with your client. Like I don't want to make their story a part of mine and vice versa, but just being able to recognize what they're going through, because I've either seen it before in myself or even in other clients that I've helped across my career, and
Hmm.
being able to empathize with them in that respect, and to be able to say, other people in your shoes have felt the same, and here are some things that they did to tackle the same kind of problem, and just giving them that understanding that I do know where they're coming from and what they're talking about.
Right. So, what do you see when you look in the mirror?
When I look in the mirror, for me personally, that has changed. It used to be, I used to see all the dark parts within myself that I hated and needed to change. And once I accepted those pieces of myself and appropriately put them where they belonged, I began to see more light. And when I see other people, I tend to see the darkness in them. And it's more so showing me the places that they still need to work on, and that those may be spaces that I can help them. Because my whole point here is to shine light in dark places. So when I see that darkness in others, I know that that's a space that I can help them.
Okay. All right. So, like, just talk about the services that you provide with Crossing Bridges Coaching.
Yeah. So I am just now launched a masterclass that I have been working on for about 2.5 years. So I've been in the beta launch phase for that, and it's been going really, really well. It's a 4-week course that we tackle in every week something related to self awareness, and each week grows upon the next. And it's uniquely designed for people of color who are LGBTQ or not. Also, individuals who might have struggles with mental health challenges or have like mental health diagnoses and are neurodivergent, such as myself, so that they can get like tangible tools for how they can overcome and master their triggers, so that
Hmm.
we're not being ruled and regulated by our past experiences and our pain, and that we can choose to show up in as a healed version of ourselves. So I do at this moment offer group coaching, and you've got to come through a group coaching course in order to work with me one-on-one. And yeah, we've got some other products, some personal things like calendars and self-care planners and whatever you need to take care of yourself.
Right. Um, could you elaborate on your use of radical candor uh, in coaching, and why is it essential for personal growth?
Yeah, so I am radically candid. I call it like I see it. Like
Uh huh.
that's just me. And I'll tell people, if you want me to say something different, you got to show me something different. And so for me, I pride myself on being radically candid. I believe in calling a spade a spade. And I know that that helps my clients because, again, especially for people of color who have different challenges than our brothers and sisters who are not melanated, sometimes we don't know the behaviors that we're engaging in because nobody's called us out on it. And I believe that for me, an act of loving another is for me to be candid with them and let them know that there's something that they could be working on, that there's something that they're doing that is not benefiting them and that they could grow and they could be better at. And by being candid and just calling a spade, saying, hey, you sound sad today, or the behaviors that you're exhibiting, these are the kind of behaviors that people engage in when they're suffering from major depression. Have you thought about XYZ? And it helps them to grow, because if nobody ever told them before, they don't know what they're dealing with. And I'm not afraid to do that.
Okay. Give us an example.
Let's see. What's an example? Have I had a recent example? I have called folks out on their behaviors that I know to be depressive symptoms. One thing that I had to become an expert at as a child welfare expert who worked with children who had mental and emotional disabilities, I had to learn to recognize what the behaviors of ADHD look like. What does OCD look like? What does bipolar disorder look like? And sometimes when we're engaging in behaviors as adults, especially if we've never taken a therapeutic route, we may not recognize those things. So I had a situation some years ago in my relationship where I called my partner out on being depressed. Like, hey, these are some things that I've noticed. These are some things you used to do. Here are some things that you're not doing anymore. And those are usually the kinds of behaviors people engage in when they're depressed. And at the time, it was really, really hard for them to receive that. And then later, after going and getting professional diagnosis, was like, I am in fact depressed and have been clinically diagnosed as such. And they then got the help that they needed. But it wasn't going to happen if I didn't say, that's depression.
Dr. Todd McLean provides periodontal and dental implant services in 2 convenient locations. They offer over a decade of experience treating patients, and appointments can even be scheduled in the evenings, weekends, or early mornings. Give them a call in Chapel Hill at 919-537-9774 or in Durham at 919-484-8338, or visit them online at gumsandimplants.org.
All right. So for my audience, could you differentiate between a coach and a therapist?
Yeah, absolutely. So our paths are very similar. We have to do some of the same things, like get certified, be supervised in our supervision, clock a certain amount of hours, recertify every several years. So the process is the same. The difference is where we work. So therapists work in the past. They are trying to help you put your past experiences in their right place so that your past doesn't hold you back and keep you from moving forward, which is what depression looks like. When you make decisions today based on things that did happen in the past that may not be happening now, but they keep you from moving forward. Therapist is going to help you with that. Therapist can also help you with anxiety, where you're you're thinking of so far ahead about things that haven't yet happened. And those things are making you act now in a way that you're just kind of all over the place, the fear of the future. So they'll help you with both of those things and any other personality disorders that may come up and help you put them in their rightful place, so that you won't be held back anymore. A coach is different in that we don't work in the past. We work in the present and the future. Our point is to work with individuals who are functioning. So there are caveats. We don't usually work with folks who are highly depressed. If you're not in a functional space where you're able to do normal routine activities on a day-to-day, a coach may not be the right person for you to work with at that time. A coach is somebody you want to work with when you have a goal for your future and you want to make sure you hit it. And you want to hit that goal faster than you would if you did it by yourself. So those are the biggest differences. They work in the past, we work in the present, and to push you towards your future.
Okay. Yeah. Good job breaking it down for us. I love it.
Thanks.
Yeah. So how do you integrate concepts of diversity, equity, and inclusion into your coaching practice?
Yeah. Well, for one, I'm Black. So I am the diversity. Yeah. Also holding space for the LGBTQ community. There are so many opportunities that leave them out. I think back to even when I've wanted to work with a therapist in my past and wanting to work with somebody who had worked with the LGBT community, because you need to understand our world if you're going to work with me. And so I promote diversity, equity, inclusion by offering that safe space for people who are queer. I also hold space for melanated individuals. My practice is very unapologetically pro-Black. I was certified in an all Black or brown cohort when I got coached, in order to put more Black and brown coaches out into the world. And so because of that, that is who I choose to serve. And I feel that in doing that, I'm helping to even the playing field for persons of color when it comes to their access to coaching. Coaching is a world that has been very much white male dominated. And it's beginning to change as more Black and brown coaches are getting certified and are out in the world. So even just being a coach and being a Black coach is helping with the DE&I concept.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that's something that has like recently become popular in our community, is like being able to go to coaches that look like us, or even, like I said, asking about therapists and counselors as well. Just being able to sit in a room without any judgment and just being able to freely express ourselves, or have someone give good advice and take us down a path to success.
Yeah, I think it's something that's growing, and from what I can see, it's growing, and my hope is that it'll grow even more. I feel like the Black and brown communities are starting to finally wrap their head around getting therapy. That's the start. Mm-hmm. You more than likely won't end up, this is my opinion, working with a coach if you haven't already been exposed to therapy in some way, if you're a person of color, because historically it's just not been something that has been accepted by Black and brown communities. It's just not. There's always been a stigma with mental health, especially in the Black and brown communities. And so we're seeing now more advertisements. Like, I can't turn on YouTube without seeing a BetterHelp ad about, that's with a person of color saying therapy changed my life. And we're beginning to see that as well in the coaching spaces as more Black and brown coaches are being certified.
Okay. All right. So, like, as we prepare to wind down, just tell us, what do you find most rewarding in the work that you do daily?
Oh, gosh. It's seeing the transformation in my clients. Mm-hmm. I love when they come to a session and maybe you can see in the beginning, like, they're heavy. I'm working with a recent graduate who's in grad school, Gen Z, doing career coaching with this individual, and had a session yesterday. And when they showed up, you could see the stress on their face. And it was just like, yeah, what do you want to talk about? What's on your mind? And by the end of this very quick 30-minute session, I got nothing but smiles at the end of the call. And they had a plan moving forward that was going to help them to reach the goal that they had for themselves. And that's what makes me most happy, when you see them get it and you see that the stress has just melted away in as quickly as less than an hour.
Right. All right. So, like, the nature of your career, even dating back to your social work days, what do you do to kind of separate and escape from, everything that you've digested on a daily basis? What's your escape mechanism?
Oh, so I have a mindfulness practice. Got into it about 10 years ago. So I'm big into prayer and meditation. As coaches, we center a lot, which is basically doing a quick meditation before you go into a session or even after. But for the most part, it just translates to prayer. That's really it. Being able to go off on my own, take care of myself either before or after a session, do the things that I love to do, not doing any of the stuff I don't like to do. And just making sure that I'm my whole self and that I show up as my whole self, because my energy is the thing that shifts a client. And so I have to protect it at all costs.
All right. So, like, just let's take a glimpse into the crystal ball.
Yeah.
Like, what does the future hold for not only Nayshondra Mercer, but for Crossing Bridges Coaching? Like you said, you had a podcast, and you've written, books.
Yeah.
Just talk about what this brand holds in the future.
Yeah. I feel another book coming. I had a great time writing this first one, and I have more story to tell. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I see in the future is more books. I will continue to put out my own courses. I've been teaching even longer than I've been coaching, and teaching adults is one of my favorite things to do. I've been doing it since I was 19. So continuing to release my courses within my coaching business that can help people of color, our melanated brothers and sisters who have a different type of need. So making space for them, and continuing podcasting. I'm getting ready to wrap up season 1 of the Rainbow Bridge, and gonna wash, rinse, and repeat for season 2.
Nice. Yeah. So like for those that would like to say support an organization, such as the Trevor Project, but I know there's others.
Yeah.
Could you share a few with us?
Sure. Like other organizations.
Yeah, to help out with LGBTQ plus community
Yeah.
and awareness and um, because I know there's a lot of people, especially with the Trevor Project. We've worked with them, the company I work for, and the suicidal rates are high, and you mentioned depression is
Yeah.
is through the roof. So, like, how can we lend a helping hand to provide additional resources?
Absolutely. Shameless plug, you could buy my book, Awareness Put Me On. Yeah. Awareness Put Me On is a book of Black and Brown voices all about self-awareness and leadership. It has hit 6 number 1 categories on Amazon as an Amazon bestseller. We went bestseller the very first day. And all proceeds for the book through July the 5th have gone to support the Black Mental Health Alliance to provide resources for Black and Brown individuals who have mental health challenges. So that's an organization I'm currently partnered with. I would also definitely recommend, one of my personal favorites is the American Civil Liberties Union. They not only address and support issues related to Black and Brown communities, that is one of their biggest focuses, but they also fight for LGBTQ rights as well. So those are 2 personal organizations that I get behind.
All right. All right. So, I mean, you already plugged the book, but feel free to plug whatever else you need to plug. Rainbow Bridge website, the courses, the whole nine.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So right now I'm in the beta launch phase. We'll be live launching on July 21st, my I Am Seeking Myself masterclass. This class is designed for you if you're a millennial, if you're LGBTQ, if you are neurodivergent, and you want to learn how to master your triggers so that you can show up confident in any situation, which can be hard for any of us in those schools of either being Black or brown, being neurodivergent, or being gay. So I give you tangible tools that you can use so that you're not triggered in a moment and you can show up as your confident and best self at all times. Again, best-selling author of Awareness Put Me On, launched that earlier this year in April, and all proceeds for the first 3 months ending on July 5th will go to support the Black Mental Health Alliance, and we are very thankful for their partnership. And I've got the Rainbow Bridge podcast. We're getting ready to wrap up season 1. I'm excited for season 2. Plan is to bring in some more folks and do some more interviews, and continuing to coach through my business. That's me. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and Rainbow Bridge drops every Sunday
Every Sunday, yeah.
On pushplaypods.com.
That is correct. Yes, you can also find that on my website, which is www.nayshondramercer.com, and that's Nayshondra, last name Mercer, Mercer, nayshondramercer.com.
All right. So, Nayshondra, leave us with a parting shot. Give us some words of positivity to get us through these tough times.
I will say, I named the chapter in my book and also my masterclass, I Am Seeking Myself, because when I started my journey of authenticity and self-discovery and self-rediscovery and growing my relationship with my creator, I learned through one of my favorite quotes by Rumi that what you are seeking is seeking you. And that is absolutely true. No matter what it is that you're looking for, that very same thing is on its way to you now. It's just about getting out of your own way so that you can find it and it can find you.
All right. What a way to wrap up this episode with our good friend, Nayshondra Mercer, Coach Nay, aka N Murder. Yeah, I was like, do I want to say that? Do I want to say that? Well, I was like, no, I have to.
You have to, yes. I've been shielding that from my current radio audience, but it's out there.
Right. Nah, it seems like that radical candor, is, shades of and murder. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's why I got that name. It was like, oh, she's just going to shoot her shot and say it like it is.
Right. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Pleasure catching up. Good seeing you again. Remember
too.
Rainbow Bridge Podcast on pushplaypods.com, Fourcast Media. Every Sunday, you get valuable teachings from Coach Nate. And for Stop, Look, and Listen, I'm your host, LeTroy Gardner. See you next week. Peace and blessings.